Hello, welcome to Sharon Be Making Stuff. So Easter is coming up real soon, that's why today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to make these super adorable and very customizable Easter egg sugar cookies. And let me tell you guys, I've tried my fair share of sugar cookie recipes, and this one is definitely one that I swear by far one of my favorites, and I know that you guys are gonna love it too. So let's go ahead and get started with our ingredients. So starting off with the sugar cookie, we're going to need 2 1/8 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 stick of cold unsalted butter cut into 1/2-inch pieces, along with 1/3 cup of sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 large egg yolk, and lastly 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. So starting off, just in an electric mixer, you're going to combine your flour, sugar, and salt and give it a good mix for about 10 to 15 seconds, just enough to blend the ingredients together. Next, you're going to add in all your little cold, tiny butter pieces and just mix that on low for about 2 to 3 minutes until all of the butter is broken into tiny pieces. After that, you can turn your mixer on to medium-low and mix that for another 2 to 3 minutes until your mixture starts forming small clumps. Now, in a small bowl, we're going to whisk together, I always have trouble saying that. We're going to whisk together the egg yolk and the vanilla extract, and then we're going to pour this mixture into our flour and butter mixture. And now all we have to do is blend that on medium-low until large clumps start to form. And as you can tell, this is when our dough starts coming together. So once you see a workable dough start to form, go ahead and transfer that over to a work surface and just knead it out with your hands until everything comes together. After that, you can just roll everything into a ball, and then to divide the dough in half, just give it one big karate chop down the middle, and I cannot stress this enough. The karate chop is essential to the success of this recipe. If you skip the karate chop, there is a high possibility that your cookies will not turn out. Anyway, we're going to move on to wrapping it in cling wrap or saran wrap, whatever you call it, and just flatten it out into a disc and wrap it up and refrigerate for 30 minutes. After your dough is done chilling in the fridge for about 30 minutes, it's time to roll out. And the easiest method I found is to just sandwich it between 2 pieces of wax paper or parchment paper. It's mess-free and it makes cleanup super easy. If you find that your dough is really difficult to roll out at first, just let it sit for another 10 minutes and then try again. So whenever we're rolling out dough, we always want to roll it out as evenly as possible. And you might find that the middle tends to be a lot thicker than the edges, and that's okay. All you have to do is just apply a little bit more pressure when you're rolling it through the center part of your dough. Capiche? Capiche. So after you've rolled out your dough to a thickness of about 1/8 of an inch, we are ready to cut our shapes. And if you guys were wondering, I got my little cute eggy cookie cutter from Michael's craft store. I believe it came in a set of 4, I think, and this was the second smallest size because I wanted really mini Easter egg cookies. So yeah, when you are cutting your cookies, make sure that you place them as closely together as possible just to avoid rolling out your dough an excessive amount of times and eventually drying it out. And just a reminder, when you guys are cutting out your cookies, any excess dough that you are not using, keep it in the fridge until it is time to cut out the shapes. So now we can go ahead and place our cutout cookies onto a lined baking sheet, spacing them about 1 inch apart, and then we're going to bake them in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 13 minutes until they are light golden brown. Bum-ba-dum, hot right out of the oven. So right now we're just going to let those cool completely. It's very, very important that you do, just so you don't have any icing running off of them when you go ahead and ice them. So moving on to our royal icing, we're going to start off with 1½ cups of icing sugar, 1 egg white, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and lastly 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar. Okay, that's enough. So in a large bowl, we're going to combine together the icing sugar, the cream of tartar, and the egg whites, and we're going to beat that on medium for about 30 seconds. After that, we're going to add in the vanilla extract and continue beating for about 1 minute until a sticky, gluey consistency forms. And if you're finding that your icing is too thick, you can go ahead and add 1 to 2 teaspoons of water to thin it out so it's easier to work with. And then you're just going to beat that all together for another 3 minutes. For decorating, we're going to need a piping bag and a piping tip. Any sort of writing tip will work. I find that the number 3 by Wilton works quite well for this. You can also use some sprinkles for decorations. That's optional, you don't really have to. And a variety of Easter colors. Today I'm using gel food coloring. Liquid food coloring will also work. Just make sure not to put too much, otherwise you water down your icing. But if that's the case, just be mindful to not put that much water when you're thinning out your icing, because you're going to be thinning it out with food coloring instead. So I'm just dividing up my icing into 5 different batches. 4 of them are going to have more for the colored ones, and then the leftover is just going to be a little bit of white to use as an accent color for decorating. So now you can go ahead and color your icing whichever colors you want. I'm doing a pink, a blue, a purple, and a yellow because those tend to be very popular Easter colors. I'm not sure why, but they are. So once your color has been thoroughly mixed into the icing, go ahead and transfer it over to a piping bag, fit it over a cup, just to make the whole transferring process easier. And now, moving on to the fun part, yay! Alrighty, welcome to Piping with Royal Icing 101 with SharonBeMakinStuff. First things first, we're going to draw an outline on our cookie and then scribble it in. Don't be intimidated by this, it's basically coloring. This technique is just called flooding, when we flood the cookie, literally. Just be mindful of how much icing you're actually squeezing out, because royal icing tends to melt very fast into each other. So just use your tip and even it out. Even out the holes is what I mean. So from here, there is a variety of ways to decorate. This one is called the wet on wet technique. As you can tell, wet icing on wet icing. I'm just using the extra white icing to make little polka dots on my cookie. And that is the first design. So the next design starts off the same. You have your base, and then this time, instead of using the icing for polka dots, we're going to use little pearls or sprinkles or whichever you choose. And you can just arrange them however you want. And this third design is actually my favorite. I call it the swirly hearts. So after you have your base and it's still wet, you're going to go in with your white icing and just create really, really big dots on all 4 corners of the cookie. And then you're going to take a toothpick and just run it right through, and it's going to create these really cool looking swirly hearts. And it just looks really fancy, and I love it. So that is it for this Easter egg sugar cookie video. If you guys enjoyed it, then please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, then don't forget to subscribe to SharonBeMakinStuff. You guys can also follow me on my socials if you want, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Let me know if you guys try this recipe out. I'd love to see it. And also, I hope you guys have a wonderful Easter. I love you guys, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!